I am currently in the location of the B-17F crash that happened during World War II. Hello and welcome to another episode here on the Echoes from the Past YouTube channel. Like I said in the start, you join me today. I'm in the vicinity of a B-17 crash that happened here in North Wales in the war. I was going to go up onto the mountain so I can point exactly where I think this crash happened from what I found from my research, but it is so windy up there you wouldn't hear a word I'm saying. So I've come back down the mountain a little bit. You've still got the amazing views behind me there, and yeah, so I just thought I would kind of shed some light on this because it's probably a little known fact, not a lot of people know about it. There is I don't know if you want to call it a memorial or a monument to Halifax that crashed, but that was in 1947. That's on another mountain. So, as I said, yeah, this was a B-17 crash, and Boeing launched the B-17 prototype on July the 28th, 1935. It very famously had 4 turbocharged radial engines, absolutely massive engines. It had 12 50 caliber machine guns, which obviously then led on to it being nicknamed the Flying Fortress. And that nickname actually came during a test flight. A reporter nicknamed it that, which I thought was a cool little fact. During its development, obviously it went through various upgrades, and kind of similar to the Spitfires and the Mustangs and all the aircraft really throughout World War II. B-17G was its final form. 8,680 of those variants were built, but this crash involved the B-17F, and it was actually B-17F 42-5791, nicknamed Ruthless, with the 95th Bomb Group based at Horham in Suffolk. That was the aircraft that crashed. They believe it was between this mountain here that I'm just looking at now, which was technically called Moel Hereldig. Terrible pronunciation. My girlfriend would kill me if she heard me saying that, but Welsh isn't my first language. I'm still learning. To actually crash between that mountain and Coombe Mountain, because what they think would happened. Well, the report stated that the AC crashed on saddle between 2 mountains, and this was just a routine flight. It was just ferrying personnel. Its route was actually the base, so in Suffolk, Whitchurch, Rill, and then onto Woodvale in Merseyside, which makes sense why they would take this route, because on the really nice scenery shots that I got up there, you can basically see, I was going to say the entirety of North Wales, not the entirety of North Wales, but a lot of Rill, Prestatyn, that area. And you can kind of see it out into the sea a little bit, and it makes sense that it would go that way, because then once you go across the water on a good day like today, probably if it wasn't too windy, you could probably see a bit of Merseyside and a bit of Liverpool, so it makes sense for them to have gone that way. So investigators believed that the navigator thought that they'd already crossed the coastline, and that they were already over the sea. So the navigator told the pilot, yep, you're over the coastline. With the cloud base being very, very low that day, the pilot took the navigator's word for it. So he started to set down over what he thought was the sea to come on into his approach, to start his approach into RAF Woodvale over in Merseyside. And that makes complete sense. Often the weather plays a really, really big role in the war that sometimes gets overlooked. Like Almurray says, the weather always gets a vote, and it always does, in certain operations. I'm currently reading about Normandy and D-Day and the breakout, the weather there that hampered Operation Epsom. And people sometimes, like I said, people forget that the weather has a vote and it impacts things. So unfortunately, on this day, I believe it was December 1943, was it the 23rd? Just let me check here. 29th of December 1943 at 14:45 GMT. was when this B-17F unfortunately crashed. All occupants were killed in action, unfortunately. 9 of them that are actually buried at Madingley American Cemetery near Cambridge. I'm not entirely sure what happened to the other 9. But again, it's, when I say it's nice, it's interesting to know that the war still touched places like here, because this really is, it's a beautiful part of the world, but it is kind of in the middle of nowhere at the same time. And yeah, I just thought it was an important story to share. The walk was long, very difficult. I wasn't expecting it to be that difficult, but it's always good to get a bit of exercise, get fresh air, get the lungs and the legs going. And yeah, I will post the links to where I found this information. It was a really good site, actually. I think it's related kind of to the website that I found for the Dizith War Memorial, because that's the village where this crash took place, the nearest village. It's only a small village. So yeah, I will put that website link down below so you can check it out. And yeah, if you want to know anything else, if you just type in B-17 crash North Wales, just come back down from the man, because I actually remembered a really interesting fact. And even though at the minute I am currently amongst what could possibly be described as blockage, yeah, I thought I would tell this really interesting fact that I found when researching about the B-17 and its history. So in 1941, the RAF were actually given 20 B-17Cs, which I never knew. You know, you always think the RAF, Lancasters, Wellingtons, Halifaxes, Mosquitoes, those are the main bombers that the RAF used. So when I read that, I was thinking, that's really interesting. And then actually 200 were used by the RAF in total throughout the war, which is probably nothing compared to the numbers of Lancasters and, like I said, Wellingtons and Halifaxes that were used. But I still found it really interesting. And obviously vice versa, you know, the Americans were, before they had P-51s, they were using Spitfires. And I just thought it was a really interesting fact. And I think that's an important lesson to learn, is that, you know, a lot of it is back and forth of, oh, the Americans did the most, oh, the British did the most, and then the Canadians unfortunately get just left out of the picture entirely, which is very unfair. But I think it's an important lesson to learn that it doesn't matter who contributed the most, who made the most of whatever, you know, it was a team effort. And I think that's what we're missing nowadays, is just that collaborative effort of pulling together. And I know that happened a lot, you know, SHAEF and how they worked was far better than how the Germans' organisation was. You know, there was less egos and it was more, let's get the job done. Yes, people still butted heads. But yeah, I thought that was a really interesting fact, or facts, and I thought that was a really interesting lesson. Thank you for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. Yeah, and if anything, I encourage you to Google about your local history, where you live, where you grew up. See if something happened nearby, and if there was, get out, try and go see it. Even if there's nothing actually physically there, you know, still getting out into the countryside it's always important. It's always important, and you know, you might learn something new along the way. So yeah, thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.